My name is Ian Bush, and I'm in AVID 313 Aviation Insurance. And in this video, I'm going to be going over Assignment 4, which is about the aviation insurance market, as well as a hypothetical situation where I am an underwriter that works for a global insurance company. And my goal is to decide whether or not I should select Archer, which is an EVTOL, which stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing system, whether or not we should decide to take them as a risk to underwrite. The first question was, what is a soft versus what is a hard market in aviation insurance? So a soft market in aviation insurance is where the market is really good and premiums are fairly low because there's been really no major incidents in the sector. So insurers are more likely to take a little bit more risk. They're more likely to put their money on the line for things that they aren't quite sure about. You might get slightly better, contracts out of this because insurers are just in a feel-good state versus a hard market, which is the opposite. Insurers are going to have stricter contracts because they're in a rough period. They may have just had a very big payout from an accident that have occurred. So they're just really on their tippy toes around things because they're going through a rough time. These are two cycles that kind of go back and forth with each other. A company may have just had a big payout, so they're in a hard market, and things kind of settle down, and they go back to a soft market where insurance premiums rise and then they fall, of course. So the second question is EV toll in a soft or a hard market? So really has a lot of practical applications. It's fairly new in the sector. People are thinking of using it for air taxis, flying cars. They're also using it for things like delivery services. DoorDash is a potential customer. They can pick up food and drop it off without having a driver, which it sounds like an efficient idea, but it really hasn't been put into place. So it's pretty uncertain whether or not it takes off or whether or not it kind of stays stagnant. So the question is whether or not it's a soft or hard market. The overall general aviation and commercial aviation sector is kind of in a soft market. They were in a rough section because of COVID, and a lot of aircraft were just sitting, and it kind of showed that they can be a liability. These aircraft aren't flying. These aircraft aren't getting their money's worth. So they were in a rough section, of course. Now we're out of that, and it's in a fairly soft market. But as for EV TOLs, they're in a fairly hard market because, like I said, they're fairly uncertain. They haven't been put into use. People just aren't sure what to make of them yet, which is why a lot of critics and a lot of analysts have said they're in a hard market right now. So the final question is, should or should not we select Archer as a risk to underwrite? So a positive of underwriting them would be we can kind of get in early into this sector that has a lot of potential, a lot of growth. We could diversify. We could be in commercial aviation. We could be in that private pilot sector. We could be in EVTOLs. Whereas on the other side of that, there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of liability that comes along with that, even though they don't carry passengers necessarily. These vehicles cost a lot of money, and if they crash, it costs a lot of money, and they can damage other structures. They crash into a building, they crash into somebody's house that they're delivering to, and they could potentially injure someone, and an insurance company has to cover that payout. So my decision as an underwriter, I think I would lean towards the not insuring Archer, just because I think there is a lot of uncertainty. I think if we were a newer company, we didn't really have the setting that we have. We have a lot of private pilot and commercial aviation people in our repertoire already, so we have a good market to be based out of. There's really no reason to take a big risk when we're already making a lot of money. If we were a smaller insurance company, I think it would be realistic to try to diversify, try to take a risk, a bigger risk, big risk, big reward, but big risk, big fail. So if I was in a different company, a newer company, I might lean towards insuring them. But here, I think we just kind of stay in our own region, we stay in our own sector, and we just do what we're best at, which is insuring other people that are a little bit more safe. Thank you.